Our closer look now at the Supreme Court, ending its term tomorrow after several landmark rulings on everything from affirmative action and presidential power to cell phone privacy. It was a term marked by both bitter dissents and some surprising consensus. Our experts will break it all down after this wrap-up from ABC's Terry Moran, who's covered the court for more than 2 decades.
They have been together for 4 years now, these 9 justices. The Roberts Court, strongly conservative, but sometimes surprising on their constitutional journey.
Each case, each interaction, both with my colleagues and with others, will change me.
The justices heard about 75 cases this year, the big ones. Affirmative action. In perhaps the most emotional case of the term, the court upheld a Michigan constitutional amendment passed by voters banning affirmative action in state university admission.
Stand up, fight back!
While Justice Anthony Kennedy said voters could decide whether race matters in public higher education, Justice Sonia Sotomayor passionately disagreed. Race always matters, she wrote, because it reinforces that most crippling of thoughts, I do not belong here. The court tore down the 35-year-old limit on the total amount of money any one person could contribute to federal candidates in one election cycle.
Victory! Finally, we're rid of the corrosive influence of not enough money in politics.
Chief Justice John Roberts said campaign contributions were a basic right. On cell phone privacy, the issue, can police search your cell phone without a warrant if you're arrested for anything? Chief Justice Roberts drew a sharp line around our digital lives, even acknowledging it would make crime fighting harder, but declaring privacy comes at a cost. Abortion clinic buffers. The hot-button issues of abortion and free speech collided when the court struck down Massachusetts' 35-foot buffer zone around abortion clinics where protesters could not go. It was a unanimous ruling, but perhaps Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who spoke generally about free speech this year, had to swallow hard before casting her vote in this one.
This group wants to march. We hate what they say, but we believe in their freedom to say it.
One big decision remains. The owners of Hobby Lobby say Obamacare's mandate to provide contraceptive coverage violates their First Amendment right of religious liberty. That ruling will come down on Monday.
And Terry joins us now, along with Dahlia Lithwick, who covers the court for Slate magazine, and Carrie Severino, chief counsel of the Judicial Crisis Network. She was a clerk for Justice Clarence Thomas. And Terry, let me begin with you. 3 big cases this week, all unanimous. That makes more than 2/3 of the cases this term unanimous. What does that tell you about the Roberts Court?
It tells you that John Roberts is an institutionalist. He has been concerned about the reputation, as it were, of the Supreme Court with the American people at a time of deep partisan polarization. He's trying to get the court to speak with one voice and stand apart from politics.
And Dahlia, you think this was especially important on the cell phone privacy case?
I think that the cell phone privacy case is interesting because up until now they fought about how to get there. In other words, no matter what the court thought about privacy, the fight, even in the GPS cases, was how are we going to think about this? To get 9 people to not fight about what Madison was going to think about cell phones is a big deal. And to not write what would Madison think about cell phones is also a big deal.
And now, Carrie, I know you think it was more of an incremental decision. So which of the decisions or which decision in this term do you think will have the most lasting impact?
Well, I think the Noel Canning decision, which was another unanimous decision we saw last week, was one of the hugest ones, not only because it was the 12th unanimous defeat this administration has suffered at the hands of the Supreme Court.
This was the one that took away the president's or curbed the president's ability to make recess appointments.
Absolutely. But I think it is very important because it shows the court is willing to hold the line on those checks and balances. We have an administration that's pushing the law legally and particularly pushing the constitutional boundaries on what it can do. And the fact that the court was standing up and even the president's own appointees weren't willing to rubber stamp what he was doing, I think is a great progress for our Constitution. Yeah, that one surprised
me as well. Terry, look ahead to tomorrow. I know it's sometimes hard to read these tea leaves, but it looks like Chief Justice Roberts is going to be delivering the opinion on this major contraception case.
On the Hobby Lobby case, the one where do corporations have religious liberty? And it seemed from the questioning and oral argument that the court is inclined to say, to some degree, yes, which is going to strike a lot of Americans as strange and could throw a monkey wrench into the entire regulatory state. Which corporations, which religions, which regulations, which taxes, and that could open a huge You're
nodding your head.
Well, I'm nodding because the court in all these cases always has the chance to go big or go small. And what we saw in the argument was the court trying to figure out a way to cabin this so that it's not really throwing everything into question. Can we limit it to closely held family corporations? Can we wait and decide about Exxon another day? But I think that the fact that the court went small all week last week, really tried to be unanimous and find a way to resolve this question and leave the big questions later, raises the possibility they go big tomorrow.
Although there was some indication in the oral arguments that Justice Kennedy, for example, may have seen this really like an abortion case.
Well, for the plaintiffs, it really is an abortion case. In their religious belief, these 4 contraceptives of the 20 that they object to, it's because, as the FDA agrees, they have the ability to terminate an embryo after it's been fertilized but before it's been implanted. If their religious belief is that is ending a life, then the state doesn't get to second guess that. They have to follow that.
And one thing we've seen about the Roberts Court, it is a libertarian court, not just for people, but for corporations, too. So some people think that the best way to win a civil rights case at the court is to incorporate.
A year ago, we had the Windsor case on gay marriage, and what a difference a year makes. Ever since then, courts, including an appeals court for the first time this week in Utah, striking down the gay marriage ban in Utah, court after court after court striking down bans on gay marriage. Dahlia, I mean, Scalia seems to have called in his dissent. He said this would happen. Do you think the rest of the court expected it to happen this quickly?
I don't think. Not this quickly and not this passionately. You read the district judges' rulings, and they are swinging for the fences here. They're writing for the ages. And so I think one of the things you really see is that to the extent that the court waited because they weren't quite sure that public opinion was on board with them, they weren't quite sure the country was ready. The country is ready, and I think that Justice Kennedy is going to look at all these district court opinions and now appeals court opinions and say, there's not going to be a backlash. This is done, and I can write this.
So what does he do when it comes back?
I think it's anyone's guess. I mean, I don't think Kennedy wanted it to go that far, that fast, which is why the lower courts are taking the Windsor opinion way farther than it goes. But I think it's anyone's ball game, and that's actually why the next election is so important. The next president's going to have as many as 3 judicial appointments. That could change the face of the Supreme Court for a generation. That's a huge issue.
It's interesting you bring that up. Justice Ginsburg pushing back against all those calling for her to retire now so the president would have a chance to appoint someone. If she holds on, which it certainly seems she will, Terry, this could really mean that President Obama doesn't get any more picks. The window's going to close, especially if Republicans take the Senate back in November.
No question about it. And I think what we're seeing with Justice Ginsburg pushing back against this, retire now so a Democrat can appoint your successor, is once again that sense of institutionalism. If she's seen by the country to game her seat and give it to a Democrat, it kind of degrades even more this sense that the Supreme Court is apart from all the mess that we've got to live with every day. And I think she's not just enjoying the job, but defending the court.
You both agree she's not going to retire?
No, I think she loves her job.
Okay. Thank you all very much.